Hey there everyone, thought I would put together a short walkthrough video for the new template design called Glitch. So what we'll do is we'll walk through some of the layer stack here and take a look at some of the options. A lot of it's going to be straightforward. There are a couple that maybe you're not familiar with, so thought I would do this little video just to help show how to get the best advantages out of this in the easiest manner, and some of the things that I found that works more smoothly when working with this design. So let's just jump right into the layers right here. So at the top is going to be our color grading layers, and we can see those are grouped. So there's three different color grading layers. Now these can be, you can change opacities on these. You could turn these off or on to create your own effect of color grading that you want. I kind of pre-apply these just to give the images some punch and more contrast and a bit more warmth. So feel free to play around with those as you're looking to make some changes or tweaks or make your own look there. That's there. So below that we have our facial highlight boost. So these are kind of preset for generally some lighter skin, which is going to be this bottom one, and darker skin, which is the top one. And we'll look at how this works, but basically this is just to kind of pop those facial highlights out. I like for the face on the subject to really stand out and pop, so I like to add these layers in here for this. Then we have some basic text layers. So we can see down here, that's just your standard text. Again, links to the fonts that I've used in my sample are going to be on the product page, so feel free to find those links there. So again, simple text. Everybody pretty much knows how to update that. Just double click on the text and type in the new text. So we'll update this one for the sample image we'll be using in just a minute. So we'll go ahead and preset that. Okay, so here's the year, and again, that's just simple text with some effects applied right here. Now we got some more text right here, and I'm going to explain why this is layered the way it is in just a minute. Below that, this is our foreground shading, and what I've done is I've done a quick color change option on this. So basically what you have is a gradient that runs across the bottom here, and if you want to color that gradient, instead of messing with the gradient tool and all that, I've just added a solid color fill layer clip to this. So if we turn this on, you can just double click onto this and choose any color, or you can use your color picker to set that to whatever color you want that fade to be. So quick color changes on there. We'll just turn it off for now so we can see that gradient. We have our subject group here, and we'll talk about that again in just a second, but it's just a group you're going to open up and drop the subject in. Here we have some sidebar options. Now this is referring to this bar running down the left side of the canvas here. So there's a few options in here. One is this text, which is on the side. If we turn that off, there's kind of like this retro-ish looking type of rectangular pattern that can be turned on. There's this circle pattern and these angled kind of blocks. And again, just the idea of this is a little bit of a retro-ish, semi-throwback-ish type of feel, particularly with that glitch effect. So that's some options that can be turned on. Again, these also have a quick color change option on them here on the whole group. So if you want to just color everything, say you wanted it to be this shade of green, we click OK, and then everything within this would take on that color. Alright, so just made it very quick and simple to update the colors on that. So let's set this back. Again, you could use your color picker. Let's say we wanted to match that red up. Let's make it a little more saturated. Alright, so let's turn our text on. Now, if you want to update this text is set up as basically a series of smart objects, but we only need to edit one smart object to update everything. And so to do that, you'll see we've got to mark here, edit text here, do not edit, do not edit. So we don't need to touch these bottom two layers, but it's this first one we want to edit. Now this is text, but it's text within a smart object. And the smart object allows us to do all kinds of cool things, such as duplicate this text and update it all at once. It's just one of the many advantages. So to edit this, what we're going to do is we're going to double click on this little layer thumbnail right here. So double click, and it's going to open up this text layer, and you can see edit text right here. So we're just going to double click to edit this text like normal. So let's say we want to update this from Wildcats to we'll do dragons. Now the way I like to update this is just put in whatever new text I want. If I'm doing a repeated text with a space, and then if I press Command or Control A, I can copy it all. Then Command or Control, basically Command or Control A to select it all, Command or Control C to copy it. And then I'm just going to hit my end key to make sure I'm at the end of the line, and press Command or Control V to just paste a number of these until I've filled up that whole canvas. And once I've done that, I can click the check mark, and I can close this window. When it asks, do you want to save, I'm going to say yes. And then you can see it's updated from Wildcats to Dragons, and it's updated all of those rows. So that's how you update that. Pretty simple and straightforward. So let's collapse that back again, and collapse that one. And let's move on down here. So here's our sidebar with that main text that's running down. So if we expand this, you'll see we have our Wildcats text in here. So our text layer and the bar itself. And again, a quick color change option, just because I think it looks cool when that text runs into that bar and it kind of looks like one piece right there. So that's how it's been set up. Now you will see on here, let's say we change this color to black. Well, of course you can't read that text, but I do have a stroke option which can be turned on that will give you that stroked outline so that that becomes readable again. So that's an option there that can be turned off and on. Let's just turn it off for just now, and we'll reset it to white. And again, we're going to look at this text in just a second, but let's look at the rest of our layers and then we'll update here. So let's collapse that back. This is our glitch effects. Now it's not going to do anything right now because this is just going to apply to whatever subject we put in the background. But if you expand it, you'll see there's a couple different effects causing that glitch effect. There is a smart object in here, and there, pay attention to the note. You do not need to modify this smart object. This is just set up to automate some of the process for us. But that's where those glitch effects are happening, so we can collapse that. And then when we get down here to the last part, of course, the back is just a background color layer. It looks best if it's black for that glitch effect in the background, but play around with it, come up with something cool. But if we look at our rear subject group, this is the last group we want to look at. If we expand this, you're going to see place subject in this smart object. So this is another smart object that's going to be handling our background subject file, okay? So as we drop subjects in, let's drop subjects in and let's do some updates to make everything work. So let's start with our foreground subject. That's just as simply as dropping, your subject in as normal. You're going to see that subject is layered between these two sets of text by default, which is why, if we scroll up, that's why we have this other text here. Okay, so that's just to create this effect like your subject is layered in between parts of the text. So that's why you're just going to drop them in. You're going to position them however you like. All right. So I'm just going to leave them somewhere about like this. I like to where you can see parts of the letters and get a idea of what the text reads as. So there's our front layer. Simple enough. Now the background layer again is the background subject I should say is a smart object. So the same way we edited the text on the sidebar, we're going to kind of do the same thing for our subject. We're going to double click to open this smart object into a new document window. And now that this is open, we can drag our background subject into here. So let's just take this guy. I'm going to drag him over, and I'm going to drop him in this document. And then once he's here, of course, you can resize, however you like. But I did put in a little placement guide in here. So if you turn this on, the way that I have this set up and designed is that if you roughly get the subject's head up into, oops, wrong layer. If you roughly get the subject's head up into this box and size it appropriately, it should pretty well fit where you want it to be. So let's resize him. And basically, I don't want the head touching and the full size of the box, but I want it to just be within there with a little bit of space around. So something kind of like that. And that's what I like. Again, the good thing about a template is you can customize and do whatever look that you like. This is just, if you like the sample, this is going to get you there the quickest, okay? So head is roughly within that box. So now I want to be sure to turn the box layer off. We don't want that showing up. But I like to leave it there so you can place it for the next subject. But our subject's in. We're going to close this document window. and it's going to ask to save the changes, and I'm going to say yes. And then when I do, we should see this auto-populate. Let's go back to our template window, and you can see it's put our subject in, and it's also auto-populated within the glitch effects the subject here. So that's happening automatically, and then now you can see when you turn these glitch effects on and off what they're doing. There's some desaturation, which is going to help create that old, that old school 3D type of look. So that's how that's set up, to put that rear subject in, is to drop in the smart object. And you can see we're already looking pretty cool so far. So now kind of the last parts we want to do is we'd want to modify this design to work with the colors of our subject. And we're not too far off now, but let's just change some colors just for demonstration's sake. So the first thing we want to do is change this text. Okay, since he's not for the Wildcats, let's update this to Dragons. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by opening this group, the sidebar with the text, which is what this is, the sidebar and the text. So we're going to expand this. I'm just going to first update this back text by double clicking, typing in the new text, DRAGONS. There we go. I'm not going to do any resizing at this point, okay? And this is what's going to help simplify things, is we're not going to make any changes on anything yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my top text here, which is that front part, and we want that to match our background text. But we want it to be enough letters that it doesn't cover his face, but just, I like it. Again, for me, I think it looks cool if it starts around his chest somewhere and works its way down. Doesn't really matter how many letters we put for now, but let's just do the GONS, something like that. And again, we can update that if we need to. But what that's going to do is right now, since we've updated those before changing any sizes, they're both exactly the same size and perfectly aligned. So now with that selected, I can hold Command or Control and select the other part of text. And then if I press Command or Control T to transform, I can hold my Shift key and I'm going to drag from this top right corner, and I just like to bring it up to where it just starts to leave the canvas edge like that. And now that's resized everything and kept those two layers of text matched up. Okay, so that's the easy way to do that text change without trying to figure out how to line that front part up. Now, because the G is going up too high, this is what I was saying. This is just an easy update. I'm just going to edit this text. Let's hit home, backspace, or delete rather, to get rid of the G, and apply this. And then that's how you can see how you keep that easily lined up there, okay? So not too difficult there in my opinion. And then you can always play with the positioning, of your subject on the front here if you want to see more of that text or less, or if you're good, or make your subject bigger or smaller, right? So that's all up to you and what you think looks cool. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it because, again, with the side text, I can tell that says Dragons there well enough. Now let's change some colors, okay? So one of the things I want to look at is on this front part of the text that's in front of the subject, there's a couple options on here. We have a stroke line, which is what allows the see-through part of the text, so you can kind of see the subject through parts of it. And then you have this gradient overlay, which blocks up and hides part of the subject as well. Now, if you want to change the color of either of those, just need to double-click on the effects right here. And you can see stroke is turned on and gradient's turned on. Now, before making changes to either of these, you just need to make sure to click on the row it's on, and you should see that row highlight. And then your options to change are going to be over here in the middle. So if we wanted to change that stroke color, I would just make sure stroke is highlighted. I can click on my color, and then the same thing, I can use a color picker. So if I wanted to pick this red, I could make that stroke that red color, or that kind of cyan color. I could click there, or I could just pick a color, right? I could come in here, I could type in a hex value, RGB value, or what have you, and make a custom color. I think for now, let's just leave it white. And then the same thing on our gradient. If I want to change that gradient color, so right now it's kind of like a gray. What I'm going to do is make sure my gradient overlay is highlighted. I'm going to click on the gradient, and then on this gradient here, I'm going to click on this far right color. So it's the bottom tab on the far right. I'm going to click that, which is going to bring up my color. Same thing. I'm going to click the color. It's going to give me my color option. And so we could pick that red, and now that'll give me a red gradient. which I think looks kind of cool. So let's leave the red gradient, click OK, and OK, and OK. So that's how you update that stroke line and that gradient on there. So let's go to our background kind of sidebar text here. So that's going to be the sidebar with the text. I'm going to go to my quick color change here, double click, and let's just make it the same color as this text here. Alright, that looks good. Maybe I want to make it a little bit darker, why not? Alright, I like that, a little bit darker. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to see what it looks like with a stroke on, which I think I kind of like actually. Because the other thing I want to do is now that side text is red. I could either turn it off and get that default black, or I want to see what it looks like as white. And that white looks kind of cool in there. Let's click OK. And then on our bottom gradient, let's turn that on. Let's set that back to black. Again, you could double click here. You could pick a color. You could make that red if you wanted to match that red. We could make it a darker red. And that darker red actually looks pretty cool too. Let's click OK on that. Now let's go up. Let's change. He doesn't look like a McKenna. Let's just change his name. There we go. We'll apply that. And here's the facial highlights that we were talking about. Since he has a lighter skin tone, I'm just going to select my mask on this bottom highlight boost. Again, the lighter skin. And grab my white brush. And I just have the flow and opacity set to 100. I'm going to paint this in. And you're going to see it's just going to give a bit of boost on those highlights. Now the good thing is, if that's too bright, just turn the opacity down. If you need more, turn it up. Okay, I'm going to turn it down a little bit because it doesn't need quite that much. I just like it to lift those highlights a little bit on the face. Again, it's a portrait. After all, I want the attention on the face. And I think that looks pretty sweet. So hopefully that helps. That was a look at all of the layers in here and how to make quick and easy updates to those. And again, the one key to pay attention to is changing that sidebar text here with that front text. Just make sure to change it in the background, update it in the foreground, and then resize them together, and you won't be having headaches of trying to line those things back up. Alright, hopefully that helps, and I hope you get a ton of use out of this. I hope it's a great money maker for you, and your schools love it, and all of that good stuff. And look forward to the next one.